I have a confession. So, sometimes where you're just going about your day and then you're like, oh my God, like my feet hurt really bad. Like, oh no, was it something in my training? What did I do? And then you remember that you spent probably like 20 minutes smashing cans in your barefoot shoes that are basically like just, plastic bags on your feet. And that's why your feet are sore.
Absolutely. I mean, we've all done that also with our hands.
Yeah.
As estheticians.
Yeah, where you're like, oh no, I'm breaking. Oh no, it was just that. Oopsies. That's literally how I felt. But I have lots of cans that are smashed and I'm ready to collect all my recycle money, which is going to be like $8. I'm very excited about it.
Right on. I think we've all done that. Have you ever done it where you've gotten like bruises on your arms? You're like, where are these bruises from? Then you realize you've carried the heaviest bags ever.
Yes.
And you get compression bruises.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I mean, that's Anthony too. I'm like, what have you been doing? Oh, you're golfing and carrying your golf bag.
Yeah. Skin show ladies, Las Vegas, every year I'll be like bruised on my shoulders, bruised on my arms from like the heaviest bags ever.
You just shopped until you dropped?
Shopped until I dropped a bunch of bags on my body.
Oh, yoy.
All right, guys, let's get started. Hi, I'm Cybil Solon. I'm an esthetician and spa owner.
And hi, I'm Alex Ellis. I'm a body nerd and wellness expert. And we are business besties.
And bosses. Owning your own business, it's hard.
But we are terrible employees, so we're figuring it out.
I've already figured it out. But we promise to share everything we know about what it takes to make six figures and beyond.
And be brutally honest about what works and what totally sucks.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so a bunch of this totally sucks. But let's get started.
Oh my God, so much of it sucks. Well, welcome back to Skinfessional. Today does not suck because on today's show, we are talking about confidence.
Yes, we are.
Specifically, how to find your inner confidence and how to nurture your inner badass.
And about how you can't weigh your demons against someone else's demons.
Yes. So here's how we prepare for the show, you guys. And we've talked about this before. But say, Cybil, what's going on? What do we need to talk about? What is in the universe? What do people need to know? Which usually is something that is happening in one of our lives, whether it's things we've been reading or podcasts we've been listening to or conversations we've been having with other people.
Yep.
And we're thinking of where so many of you might be right now. Of in this transition zone of how things used to be and how your business used to be and how you want it to be or where you're being forced to go and change and make adjustments. And there's this hesitation of actually jumping that divide. And the longer we wait, the larger that crevasse starts to feel, right? It almost feels like insurmountable, like it's impossible. I couldn't possibly do this. It's too hard.
Right. You get like in your brain, you start what I call spinning out. You start spitting out and making up all of these reasons.
So many reasons. And the reasons. I mean, that's also, I shared you before we started
the reasons.
Our podcast, when I was saying a Post-it note of all the things I've been writing down, because in my head, it was getting to be this big thing. So I chose the tiniest Post note and wrote down everything. And I felt so much better. But the question, right, that we want to answer today is, okay, so how do I go from analysis paralysis, where I'm spending hours Googling and looking up all of the things and trying to find all of the answers and actually taking action, right? Yeah. Because nothing happens until we take that next step.
Right. And allowing ourselves to actually like just do the thing. And we say this all the time, right? Alex always says, just do the thing. I say, push play. We say, do the thing. And then what'll happen is you'll be like, okay, I'm going to do the thing. I mean, after I do this with one, let me just do this one other thing.
Yeah. I just need to know how to do this.
A little bit more time.
Yes. Well, if only I knew how to do this, then
that's not doing the thing.
No. And it may seem like, I'm say that we're super confident. And I say that jokingly because like, I definitely don't feel that way. We know Cybil is super confident, but everybody, right, has their moments where you're like, my God, this is crap. I'm crap. What the fuck am I doing? Why am I here? This is a waste of time.
Yeah.
Like literally crying to my husband last week about just like, it's just not working. And I don't know what I'm doing. Like it happens. It happens.
Yeah.
So we want to be really transparent and open and honest with you about how, yeah, this shit sucks. And here's what we have done to build up our confidence, like brick by brick.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking around of unicorn sticker and inspirational stickers by inspirational stickers. I have to show this one. This is from you that you gave me, where it's a dumpster and it says unsolicited opinions from random people.
That's right, guys. That's right.
So confidence. What do we need to know, Cybil? How can we be confident?
So I think one of the biggest thing about confidence, and estheticians, I hear you. People out there, I hear you. Service providers, I hear you. I hear this all the time from people. They're like, I wish I had your confidence. So guys, my confidence came from constantly being told that I wasn't good enough, I wasn't the best at something, that I sucked, and just being like, fuck you. Like, really? That's what it comes down to. Mm-hmm. You have to look at somebody and be like, fuck you. Mm-hmm. And just know that, like, even if you're not the best, and you're going to be the best, and you're probably better than somebody else, and you're going to be better than them. And Alex has talked about this many times. I have a rebel personality. And so when you tell me that I'm not, the first thing I say is, I'm going to be. Right. You can't tell me what to do.
So, okay. So interesting, because I like the people telling me I can't do it aren't people outside of myself. Like it's all the time. It's me telling myself, like, who are you to have that dream, to have that goal, to have, that the belief that that's even possible, even when everyone around me is like, oh yeah, of course, of course, of course. And the frustration I have, and, maybe some of you listening have experienced this as well, is like, oh, I could tell somebody else a million times, like, oh, just do this. And then they do it and then have great success. And you're like, okay, but why is that not working for me, which is so super frustrating. So I also I don't want you to think that like I have it figured out, because like I definitely
none of us has figured out. So I always say, so like for me, when I have those voices, and I call them voices. Mm-hmm. When I have those voices, those limiting voices, those evil, limiting, nagging voices that are like, you're not good enough. You suck. Why would you think you could do that?
No one's going to sign up.
Yeah, you're a loser. I literally think of those voices as the voices that I just set aside, as they're the voices of somebody else. And that's really what I do. Like, those are voices that are just like, you shut up. Mm-hmm. And let me tell you guys, there are a lot of times you have to just fake it.
Yeah.
You really do. And I don't know how many times you have to just fake it. And there's nothing else you can do about it. You sit around and you fake it. You're like, well, we are going to try this. And we have to understand that if we fail, it's going to be okay. There's another day.
Yeah. I think doing it scared is such a powerful antidote to being scared, It's like you do the thing and then you're like, oh, like I survived. It wasn't that bad.
And it might have been, it might have been that bad.
Oh yeah, no, it might have
guys, it might have been that bad. But guess what? You survived.
You survived. That's so true.
And the next time it won't be as bad.
Yeah. And I think too that there's like gradients of things that are, super, super intense, and, you come out the other end a changed person for sure, but like you survived it. And then everything else kind of pales in comparison. Yeah. So, I mean, I wonder too, for me, the experience, I'm just saying, like, when I got married and we had our wedding, I mean, it was like, I wasn't scared to do it. I wasn't questioning it, but there was just like the energy and emotion of that moment was like so big and unlike anything I've ever done or perhaps ever will do like in my life. And after that, and maybe just like a couple months, or it was shortly after, where I was teaching in a whole new situation around whole new people. I taught a room of like 150 people, and I was just like, this is a cakewalk, because it's not as bad as that was, So I think having and like reminding yourself, because we are so like stuck in what's happening right now, what's going to happen a week from now, and also like the shit we failed at yesterday.
Yeah,
And so
absolutely.
like journaling and reminding yourself of like, here are the times where I have been in a situation that was super, super uncomfortable, and I figured it out and I came out on the other side.
Yeah. I think so. I think that there are three main things that I know that kind of like mess up confidence, right? One is that we have like these limiting beliefs in ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have like the voices that tell us we can't, we suck. And those are the voices that people have given us or that we have carried with us.
Mm-hmm.
And those are things that we kind of have to like push through, right? Then we have the voices that other people like are constantly telling us. And if you don't have those people, that's wonderful. You don't have people in your life being like, I don't know. And sometimes they're insidious, guys. Sometimes they're super insidious and you don't realize it.
Yeah.
So you think somebody's supporting you, but they're like, I mean, I think you can do that, but okay, there's some but, shut them down.
Yes. I mean, even something small too. Like I bought a bottle of champagne and I put it in my fridge, and I, told everyone in my family, like, okay, I'm going to open this when I pay off my debt. And some people said, is it even going to be good by then? Which is
right?
like, yeah, like it's like a subtle cut, but like death by 1,000 paper cuts. Right.
Instead of just somebody being like, that's amazing. I can't wait to drink that with you.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's sometimes these subtle digs, these subtle unsupportive moments, and understand that they don't mean it, but they haven't had that support either. So they don't know how to support you back.
Yeah.
Okay. And watch it in yourself, because it's a learned pattern. It's a learned behavior. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I think the final one that I notice is that people are afraid to rock the boat. People are afraid to make people unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
People need to be liked. So one of the things that makes me really confident, and this is 100% true, is I don't care if you like me. Mm-hmm. I don't give a fuck. Mm-hmm. I let that go years ago. I'm like, you either like me or you don't. And I know for a lot of people that I am a person that you're not going to like. And that's okay. Like I'm a black and white person. You're either like, I think Cybil's great and I love everything about her, and the things that I don't like, I talk to her about, and it's fine. Or you're like, that's Cybil. No way. She grates me and I don't like her at all.
That's Cybil.
Yeah, I'm not into her. I don't get her vibe, whatever. Right? She's offensive and I don't get her. She's like really loud, and yeah, that's fine. Then you're not my people, and that's okay. Yeah. But guess what? If I was a man, that would just be considered confidence.
I know. Isn't that so fucking annoying?
Right? They're just like, well, that chick is confident. She's got big D energy.
Well, you can have big O energy or big V energy.
V energy, right? So I came to terms a long time ago with, to be confident requires you not always to be liked.
Yeah.
And I think that is one of the big pieces that women especially struggle with, is the idea that you have to be liked all the time with a beautiful smile and be precious and kind. Understand that you can be who you are and be nice and kind to the people and still not be liked. Mm-hmm. You can have values and not be liked.
Yeah. Well, and it also comes back to like literally our genetics, and humans are wired for survival, and one of the elements of survival is the power of the group and being part of the in-group. And so this fear of being excluded is like, it's coded into your DNA. So it's not unusual. You are not less than because you have this. This is something that we all have. That's so fascinating. The other thought, oh my gosh, I just had this idea of like wanting to be like, one of my favorite podcasts, My Favorite Murder, the best piece of advice, or one of the many good pieces of advice I have gotten from them, is fuck politeness. Yes. And this gets you out of situations.
That will get you fucking killed.
Yes. This is why you stay sexy and don't get murdered. Because especially as women, and even if it's not like, like, overtly said, like, you need to be polite all the time. There is
Mhm.
this like, oh, you're just going to smile and be polite and kind and take it, even when we're like really uncomfortable and
Right.
our intuition is like screaming at us. And I part of confidence for me and the process of becoming more confident is learning to trust myself and listening to that voice, because there are a million and one opportunities throughout your day and your life to ignore that voice. And the
Mm,
better you can listen to that internal knowing of you, the easier it is to like keep moving forward confidently.
yeah, absolutely. So, speaking of kind of men and listening to men,
Yeah.
Alex was actually listening to a podcast today
Oh yes,
of,
it does.
of two men, but she got a really good piece of advice from it.
Yeah. So it was the Mind Your Business podcast with James Wedmore, and he was interviewing Jim Fortin. And I LOL, two white dudes talking about how they have it all figured out. But there was definitely value in this episode, because what they were talking about is how so much of our, the things that we do and the things that we say are like these subconscious programs, just like you were saying, like we were brought up that way. It was, modeled for us.
Mhm.
It's a habit like anything else. And changing a habit, you need more than willpower to want to change a habit, right? You can't just like want to quit something and then it just happens. Like, willpower runs out eventually. We all know this, right? And it's not enough to even just like do the action, because eventually you fall off the wagon. I have
Mhm.
been trying for probably over a year now to build up the habit of working on my pull-ups every day. It's not freaking happening, no matter how hard I try. At the same time, the habit of scooping the cat's litter box, which I share an office with, I'm now doing that every day. That one finally clicked. It took 6 years, but it finally clicked, and here we are. So, willpower isn't enough. And when we want that thing, but what you focus on it's like what you focus on, you attract, right? So if you're
Right.
feeling like, gosh, I'm just like so broke, and every day you're micromanaging your money and checking on it all the time, of course you're going to be so
Yeah.
broke. But you can't also replace that, which is where I feel like I'm sort of like
Mhm.
circulating right now, is
Yeah.
replacing it with being busy and
Mm.
like hardworking, because
Mm.
you're one of the most hardworking people I know, because don't you know that like hard work equals money, which is just another money story.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be true. So we go from staring at this money all the time, and obviously you guys know what what my stories are that I'm working on. And then we like work super duper hard without ever looking at who do I need to become. And we've talked about this before, but the way that Jim Fortin presented it really clicked for me today. So what he said is, and this is fantastic stuff for your journal, all right, is who would I be? What would I do? And how would I feel if I already had, and then you fill in the blank.
Right.
I'm going to say it one more time because I want you to write this down. He told me
Yeah.
to write it down. Now I'm passing it on to you. Who would I be? What would I do? And how would I feel if I already had? Because the way he described it as well is like your brain it's not able to like differentiate between what is imagined and what is really, really, really happening, right? People who have amputations and they have phantom limb pain, like their limb isn't there anymore, but the brain is experiencing it. It's totally, totally real. There's all kinds of different like brain psychology too on like, imagination and creativity and like all of those
Right.
things. So by saying, if I already had this thing, like who would I be? What would I do? How would I feel? And painting that picture and then using that as an anchor for your day to day is
Right.
how you go about uncovering and just changing these stories that are running in the background. It's almost like we have like lines of code that are antiquated and old and not serving us. And every time, like I had a bad version of Photoshop. Every time I pulled it up, my computer would crash every single
Every single
time.
time, give you error, and that's how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why not, instead of tiptoeing around that and saying, oh, well, if I open it from this window and then I do this, then it doesn't crash. Why don't you just install it again? Like
Right.
we always have that option.
Right. So, and guys, if you think about this for a moment, we deal with this in our day to day life with clients all the time, right? So, clients come in and they say, if I had no wrinkles, if I got rid of my acne, if I had this line was gone, I would be happy, right?
Right.
I would feel better about my skin. And then what happens? You get rid of it, you did, and they're like, but what about this? And what about this other thing? And that's actually how we know that we're doing a good job, right? Is that they're angry about something else, or they want something else managed, or they're unhappy with something else. Because remember, what it's about is not that line or that wrinkle or that pigmentation. It's about within.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's not this exterior. It's about the interior. That these problems are stemming from.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so when you look at the fact that you're like, I'm working on this challenge with myself, I'm working on my confidence, I'm trying to boost my morale, whatever you're working towards, understand that what you're really working towards is an improvement of your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You're working on a moving forward with your wellness overall of who you are as a person.
Yeah. And I think finding that, again, that like that inner knowing and that confidence is a much more peaceful and joyful and fun place to be than to always be striving after what somebody else thinks you should be doing, or even what you think somebody else thinks you should be doing.
Yes. Because I think, and this is something that I have found when I talk to people about confidence, I think that some people think confidence is this kind of just like brashness. It's just this like,
Mm-hmm.
I can do anything and it's going to be great. Confidence is the belief that, yes, that you can do something and it's going to be great, but also the belief that when you talk to somebody, that you listen to them, that you pay attention to the things that they say and understand and know that although you're right, that you can make changes in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And this is something that I think that is really hard for like people are like, I'm trying to work on my confidence. So I'm just like, I'm doing what I want to do. And I'm like, okay, but there's confidence. And then there is just like pigheadedness.
Right.
Right. And there is kind of like a difference. And I'm like, go off and be a badass. That's what I want for you. I want you to nurture that badass. I want you to be like, yes, I believe this. And so I'm going to speak up about it. But your speak upness can be quiet. There are very quiet badasses in this world.
Mm-hmm.
There are.
Yeah.
Right? There are very subtle, quiet badasses out there.
Yeah, that's such a great point too. Like there's not this one archetype of like what it looks like to be confident. And I think for me, confidence is not, I'm not confident that I'm going to hit it out of the park every single time. Like that's ridiculous. But I'm confident that I can figure it out.
That's correct.
Right. And just knowing like that whatever happens, I will figure it out when I get there. And whenever we have anxiety, it's usually over something that like hasn't happened and we're like worried about what's going to happen. And it's just like, well, you're never going to know unless you take action like one step at a time and figure it out one step at a time rather than worrying, okay, but a month from now, that's never going to happen if you don't do anything anyways.
Right. Alex, these are so very vital words because she's also speaking to your inner perfectionist, which she understands very well.
Who, me?
Speaking to your inner perfectionist. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I have a person who I talk to a lot who truly believes that she is a writer. All right. And she's like, I'm a writer. I'm writing. For the last 2 years, she's like, I'm a writer. Guys, she has not written one word. Mm-hmm. Not one word has gone down on paper or in typing. Is she a writer, guys? I would love to know. If you've never written anything, are you a writer? But in her mind, she is a writer. She has the confidence of a writer. All right.
Yeah. Which is interesting too. Yeah. We can it's like there's a balance of all of this. There's the belief, of who you are. There's also the confidence in knowing that you can do it, but there's still the action. Like we are nothing without action. You have to be taking action. Yeah. Or like you could be in virtual reality. It wouldn't even matter.
Yeah. Yeah. So there is a balance, guys. So one of the things that I always talk about is I always say you can't weigh your demons against somebody else's demons. And so what does that mean when you talk about it to people? So understand that the things that weigh you down, the things that are kind of like the demons on your back. So whether it's that you are stressed about money, the thing you have depression, you worry about your weight, the things that when you're journaling that you're like, this is the thing that holds me back. Right? And guys, when you're getting down to the deep heart of it, it might seem small. It might seem petty. It might seem giant. It doesn't matter. Your demon is your demon. And at the end of the day, it holds you back the same as anybody's demon. Drug addiction demon is the exact same as the person who I can't stop buying shoes, right? They are the same weight to the person who holds them. And so this is another reason why you cannot take your demon and judge it against somebody else's. So looking at somebody else and being like, their life is better. Their life is different. If I could have their life, if I could be living that thing, if mine was like theirs, I would be better.
Oh my God.
You don't know their demons.
No. Okay. You are so speaking to my soul right now. I'm going to be fully transparent because I feel like, that too is in confidence, that for the longest time, I tell you guys all the time, I'm doing this journaling and I'm reading these books. I'm doing all of these things, but you can only get so far in not even mastering something, but improving on something, when you have external help. Yeah. Whether it's a coach, whether it's a meal prep service, whether it's, whatever. Right. And I had convinced myself that it wasn't bad enough to require therapy, right? And that I could just figure this out on my own and that everybody else, they really need it, but I don't really need it. It's fine, And it's taken almost 3 years next week to get to this point where no, shoot, exactly what you're saying, what I'm experiencing, it doesn't matter what someone else is experiencing because I'm just tired of doing it by myself, of having to hold space for everything and to being an entrepreneur is fucking hard. Yeah. It's so hard.
And this shit is hard.
It is not for the faint of heart. Not at all. No. And this year has been exceptionally hard. Yeah. I think we passed over 500,000 people have died because of COVID. I know multiple people who have passed because of it. It's just this year is hard. And if you're oh no, I'm okay. We are lying to ourselves.
Yeah, you're not okay, guys. You're not okay.
So I think confidence is also exactly what you're saying. Everybody is doing their best, but in thinking that oh, well, they have it worse or they have it better or they have it figured out. Well, why haven't I figured it out? I must be trash. No. Your journey is your journey alone.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I think that especially 2020 was a year where I felt very heightened about this because we had a lot of, we had so many things we had Black Lives Matter and we had, we now have, Brown Lives Matter and we had
and insurrection.
Insurrection. We have homelessness. We have all these things that are coming at us. And you want to sit there and you want to say, well, these things are bigger and greater than me. We have friends and family who are ill. These things are bigger and greater than me. Your demons weigh the same to you as other people's demons. It's just how it is. It doesn't stop those demons from being weighty and hard. And so we do have to remember that when we are looking at working on ourselves and thinking about your confidence and thinking about how we're kind of taking care of ourselves. Okay. And I think in my industry, in the aesthetic industry is when I really started to understand that everyone's demons weigh the same. You have a client who walks in who is smoking hot, has the best job, makes all of the money, and they are falling apart, right? They are so unhappy. It does not matter. They can't seem to find love. They can't get their life together, right? And you look at them and you're like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Right. And then you have a person who comes in who, they're just a social worker. Their job is horrifying. They deal with the worst stuff in the world. Right. But their demons are exactly the same weight to them as the person who came in, that you're like, you should have completely different lives. Like, you should be like living in Malibu, having a great time. And you should, be on the street in Van Nuys, like feeding the homeless. And I don't understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the weight is the same.
Yeah.
And so it really helped me understand how how lucky most of us are. And B, it gave me perspective on, having that confidence to go out and just do anything, because it's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, like, we're focusing on the wrong things, like, I mean, that's why this conversation that you and I are having right now, and the podcast I was listening to earlier today,
Mm-hmm.
My money blocks have been a thing for a super long time. And it does, like, I could stare at them. I could stare at all the numbers. I could do all those things. All of those things are important.
Yes.
But isn't it like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again?
Like getting the same result.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, so what can I do differently? And I think that you build your confidence, like I've said a million times, of like building that inner, like the ability to hear yourself over everything else. And the best way to do that is to create the time and space for that to happen.
Right.
Whether it's gardening, whether it's cardio dance classes, whether it's journaling or baking, like, it's so important to have an outlet for you to just think and be you and not your business.
Yeah.
That will actually help you be more confident in your business and yourself.
It's true. So you all think about what you need, and, therapy. I did therapy for years, guys. I'm a firm believer that therapy is amazing. Alex did money therapy this year. She's all up in the therapy. She did financial therapy. She's doing regular therapy.
Mm-hmm.
I've done holistic therapy. Guys, having somebody to talk to who's not you.
Yeah.
And having somebody who has perspective, who's not you, who's not your family or a friend, who's just like outside, who kind of, what I love about them most is they kind of don't care. They have no skin in the game. So I've always loved, they care enough to be like, I don't want you dead.
Right.
But they kind of don't have skin in the game. They're like, let me tell you how it is.
You know what? Okay. It's so funny too, when you're talking about like wanting to be liked all the time. I was interviewing a potential therapist, and she was like clear quartz, in that I could just absolutely see through her, and anything that I presented was reflected back to me. And I have never in my entire life met anybody like that. And I was so uncomfortable and like trying to make her like me. And I was just like, oh my God, it doesn't even matter if she likes me or not.
They're not supposed to.
No.
They're not supposed to. I've always liked a therapist who's kind of like, yeah, I mean, I don't really have any skin in the game. My job is not to like you or not like you. It's just to be like, so you're doing these things. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, all right, like, how do you feel about that? And, here's my assessment. And, let me tell you what to think of some stuff to think about. Okay, bye. Go do some homework.
They're like cats. Really, we want to sit in a room with a cat.
Exactly.
And have the cat talk to us.
That's right.
Maybe I just need a pet psychic. Maybe that's my problem.
Oh my gosh, if we all could just have like pet psychics talk to us, be like, so what you really mean is this. Now go get some treats.
Okay, but seriously, y'all, I do have a pet psychic, and I really should call her. She's the shit.
So we've talked today about kind of finding your inner badass, getting, finding the person inside of you who can be, challenged and, but still have a heart,
Mm-hmm.
I think the last kind of thing I want to make sure that we mention is that this doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
All right. This is something that it's like anything else you do. It takes practice.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for me, one of the things I did is I just kind of like drew a line in the sand about like one or two things. And I'm like, this is what I'm going to work on being like super confident about.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So Alex, for you, when you were working on like your like inner confidence and your being you, like, how did you kind of start?
I think the biggest change of like what really kind of set stuff off was creating my community of people and like
Mhm.
having people show up who are into the same, like who are as nerdy as I am, right?
Yeah.
Like I've always had,
A support network.
yeah, because I'm a huge nerd and I've always been a nerd.
Mhm.
And I haven't always like let my nerd flag fly out
Mhm.
of fear that I would be ridiculed and laughed at.
Right?
And like I have a muscle shirt. And when I say muscles, I mean that it actually has the anatomical muscles painted on it in my closet. And I'll never get rid of it because I love it so much, but I don't often wear it because it's so nerdy. My husband is embarrassed.
It's amazing.
But finding like my tribe, and I found my tribe by like putting my nerd flag, my
Out
freak
there.
flag out there. So I
Yeah.
think it was kind of like it was like the two things happened simultaneously of deciding that I was tired of not being fully myself in all aspects of my life, which doesn't mean for those of you who are private and like not on social, like that doesn't mean
Mhm.
you got to air all your grievances out online. Like that's not what I'm saying. But I wanted to like be my ridiculous self without fear or shame. And so every time I did that, it was almost like letting out the gas out of the kombucha bottle, right? A little
Yeah.
bit at a time so that it doesn't like make a huge mess. And then I was able to attract more and more and more people who I was just like, oh, like this is what I'm here for too,
Yeah.
and I think there is also something super powerful in knowing that you have this dream of like what you want to create and the life you want to create, and even when your external reality isn't necessarily reflecting it, but you're like, no, I know this is my truth because otherwise it wouldn't be in my heart, it wouldn't be in my head, and just like
Yeah.
pushing forward through that. So I think it was like a combination of stubbornness and frustration and just of like, I'm tired, I don't want to play this game and put this front up and try to be this perfect person that I'm not anymore. Like
Yeah.
I would like to be me.
So mine is kind of the same. Like there is definitely a not wanting to fake who I was anymore, being very true to myself. I did also have, so like I said, I did a bunch of therapy. My therapist was really kind of mean at times. And like I've talked about it before, like she was like, I want to find all the things that like, make you weird and uncomfortable. And I want to make you do those things. So like for me, I grew up in a family where, we nickeled and dimed everything. And she's like, so I want you to pick up people's tabs for the next 6 months. And so like I just did. She's like, whenever you go out somewhere, you just pick up that tab. You just do it until
Whoa.
it's not uncomfortable anymore. Just
Wow.
keep
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I had a bunch of homework assignments like that, where like things that made me uncomfortable. So like, you're just going to do that until it's not uncomfortable. Right. I did a year of reclaiming things. So things that that I didn't like. She's like, well, why don't you like that? So what, you're going to go do it again. See if you like it now.
Hey, that never works when I tell you that.
Well, I did a bunch of it with her. So I reclaimed a bunch of stuff. Like, I don't like Christmas. Why don't you like Christmas? Okay, well, go have an amazing Christmas. Like, go do Christmas huge. Right. And discover like the things you like and actually don't like because of who you are as a person now. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And surround yourself with the people who, I'm not going to say agree with you, because you should always have people who challenge you, but who support you and your ideas. Right. So if you have people who are around you who are like, I also love these things and I'm about that and I'm about you and the things and I support you. She's like, go do that. Find those people and support them back.
Mm-hmm.
And so she really helped teach me how to do that. So if I'm going to tell all of you out there that if you're holding on to people because of external reasons, like they've just been with you a long time, they're, they've been my friend for X amount of time. It might be time to question whether they still should be there. If the shoe doesn't fit anymore, you don't have to keep it. I know, crazy. I know, I had to do the same thing. Like I said, she had made me do really uncomfortable things that I was really not happy about. But it was much better for me long term. And I
Yeah.
became like a very different person.
I think that's too the biggest thing of like overcoming this fear of taking action and like
Yeah.
fear of failure and perfectionism and all of that. Like that's the thing standing between you and your biggest, wildest dreams,
Mm-hmm.
because you can figure it out. You can, make the connections, do the work. It's not about that. It's
Mm-mm.
about becoming, right? Who would you be? What would you do?
Do.
And how would you feel if
Yeah.
you already had that thing and becoming that person? And so maybe that gap, like we talked about at the beginning, maybe it is kind of wide, but when you really paint the picture of, who do I need to be and who is that person, and start putting the building blocks in place, it fills up that gap. So it's not quite as daunting.
Right. And you will discover that you actually probably have a good amount of stuff together that is already in place. And you're already getting there. You just didn't realize it. Yeah.
So true. I mean, even just that, like one of the most powerful meditations I've ever done was just like imagine that you're an alien from another, universe, and you come down and they meet you, and like, how would they describe you? Like, who are you? And when you do it from like an external, like neutral third party, it's just like, whoa, like I'm all of these things that I don't realize because I'm so in it all day, every day. And so maybe that's a journaling. Maybe that's something you're thinking about when you're walking. Maybe that's meditation. But just anytime you need to be reminded of what a badass you are, pretend you're an alien, and then you will.
Right. And remember that you can fake it, because sometimes we all have to. I've faked things many times, guys. I'm going to say it all the time. I fake confidence. Sometimes I'll be like, wow, this is not going well at all. Well, no one will know. So one of my favorite dreams that I have is I have insecurity dreams where literally in the dream, I tell people that they're wrong. People are like, you showed up naked to the event. Why are you naked? I'm like, did no one else get the memo? Why are you all wearing clothes?
Oh my God.
You should be taking off your clothes. Those are my insecurity dreams. Naked insecurity dreams.
That's fascinating that you flip it on them.
I do. That's my insecurity dreams. No, my real insecurity dreams are like the ones where you walk into your spa and like 20 people are standing there and more are showing up.
Yes. Have you had that?
We've all had them.
Where they don't understand you? Have you ever had that dream? Because like I've been teaching in a room full of people, and like no one is listening to me, and that is like and then not only are they not listening, they don't understand it, and I'm just like
pretty much. I think it's the same dream. Mine is just like there are too many people, and the people keep coming in, and I'm like, you don't have appointments right now. How did I mess up my schedule this badly? I have so much, and then that happens in real life, and I have so much anxiety. So guys, I'm so excited by hearing how you are working on your confidence and you are nurturing your badassness, and I want to hear from you. Yeah.
Yes. So let us know what you're doing, how it's going, where you're starting, where you came from. You can find us on Instagram. The show is at Skinfessional. You can find Cybil at Your Skin Fitness Expert, and you can find me at Holla for Mola.
Yes, indeed.
Good luck spelling that.
Oh, it's going to be great. We have a whole episode on it. And guys, we do have a Skinfessional box that you can call. I know it's old school, but you can actually call and leave us a voicemail message.
What?
I know, but we're old school. We're estheticians. So our number is 818-473-5277. And until next week,
keep your secrets to yourself.
Unless you're telling us.
Okay, bye.
Goodbye.